All right, hello everyone. It is time to discuss a brand new character on the JP side, and as always, or should I say, as more recently, I am once again doing these kind of previews first, where I do a very in-depth dive into abilities, what I think about the characters, and specifically like final reviews, final opinions will come later. So today we're talking about Leela. And before we talk about Leela, I guess we should talk about her name. There isn't a direct English translation at the point in time we are. There's been chatter that with some of the people I know about exactly what the name that we want to use for Leela. And on that subject, basically the name is kind of Leela of the Beautiful Blade, which when you see her limit burst kind of makes sense. The animation kind of lends itself to what she's doing. However, that being said, her event is kind of a murder mystery, and that's pretty fun. That's very memorable, as opposed to a lot of the Wotv stories that we see. I feel like murder mystery really stands out from a lot of the side story events. So basically, I've started calling her Detective Leela. I don't think that'll be her name, but I find that way easier to say than Beautiful Blade Leela or Leela of the Beautiful Blade. Like, really just too long of a name. So for now, I'm just calling her Detective Leela until I can detect a better name. But yeah, Dark Elemental character, new 100 cost, and before we get in any further, she is a permanent addition to the character pool. She is not a limited time character, she's a permanent character. So that makes two so far this year, which I'm very happy to talk about. We're at least running a 50% character permanency, which is probably not going to last. But the new Leela is a regular character like Oberyn. It's just that she's a 100 cost character, so she's a little bit more difficult to get. So what about her? What initially stands out in terms of statage? Well, first of all, remove 2 jump, 100 cost, a new job for her main one, which is based heavily on daggers, paladin for sub, and pugilist or fighter for her third job. So I actually really like the mix of jobs that she is capable of having. As for equipment, we'll start off with her exclusive dagger, which has reaction block. That's one of the big things that Leela is capable of doing. So she is capable of giving a lot, or a pretty high chance, of just blocking a reaction. Where is that important? Well, with reflex characters, or, any counter ability recently that's really strong. Being able to block those reaction abilities is a very powerful skill, and this is just a nice dagger. There's also an aim version of it, either aim or assault recommended. As for her TMR, there are the stats minus runes, and as for the ability, 25% agility increase for 3 turns for allies. It's a nice piece of equipment. I think that any agility boost is really good. As you can see, it's a big AoE with a little bit of flexibility as to where it's cast. And that means that, I like these kind of abilities that do have some flexibility on it. And it's double use, so good overall. Like the TMR, do I think it's one of the most required ones? No, it's not a bells. It's not an AP generation or anything like that, or incredibly high defensive capabilities. It's just a good solid agility one. And I'm not complaining about it. It's definitely good to get your hands on. I just don't know if it's quite what people really want at the moment. Okay. As for her master ability, she gets attack and luck up. Really, at this point on the JP side, though, before we get into this, I'm just going to address the luck thing. Global has a luck-based vision card that is for the dark element. JP does not. And that is one of the things I'm going to be considering as we go on through this character. As you can see, she's also running Odin and the Hermes sandals, so that tells you a little bit about why she just has so much agility here. But taking a look at this character, my initial impressions were I actually just couldn't think quite of where I want this character to be. There's a lot of intricacies as to how this character could be built and what will be good for her and what will not be. And yeah, I'm just kind of in a spot where I don't know how I want to build this character. This is a very offensive version that they built here for the friend unit. As you can see, 6,500 HP isn't really that much. If you consider that we can get characters with approximately 10,000 even in the DPS range, like Astoria, for instance, can get about 10,000 HP with this much attack. I don't even need to, I'm not even making this up. I can even prove it just by flopping over here. There it is. All right, but let's go back to Dark for a minute here. Her HP is not really as impressive as I wanted it to be. I thought it would be closer to the 8,000. With a rune TMR, probably would be closer to 8,000 if you went the HP route. And that's fine, I think. It's just a little, but I'm a little surprised that her HP is lower than I thought it was going to be. Her speed is definitely really fast, her dexterity is nice, and her luck's pretty good. But that luck stat might be more important later on. As for this build, you can see that she is positive on the light and dark aspect, having 27% sword resistance, 20%, 20%, and 35%, with the really big weakness being spear. From what I've heard from some people, Oberyn is a big problem for this character initially. Her spear resistance isn't particularly strong. I don't think that's necessarily the matchup that this character is playing for, and I still think that this character is very powerful, as we're going to get into, because without guts removal, he's going to be a problem. All right, so skills, I'm going to briefly touch over each of her job classes. So Pugilist, it has the attacks that get more damage as she gets damage. Good synergy with what this unit also has. Can move to the target panel and has access to Human Killer through one of the Pugilist / fighter abilities, and can restore some HP. So overall, fighter, very synergistic with the rest of her kit. And strike damage is kind of a blind spot for characters still. Now, I'm not saying that I would necessarily, make this her main damage class, but it's a good option to potentially be countering people in arena with, since strike resistance is not a thing. As for Paladin, Paladin gives her the stun attack, the restore HP, the defense and spirit up for a decrease of evasion, which I don't think is a big deal because this character is not really an evasion character. A 200 damage attract blade ability, so she can be a soft tank with hate generation, although that is 44 AP, so that's definitely going to be expensive for her. She can increase her max HP and raise at the start, and also she can reduce physical damage taken multiple times. But most important things in Paladin are the hate generation, defense up, stun, and reducing the physical damage barrier 3 times for herself. All of those abilities are very nice, but Paladin does have some high AP costs if you want to be running a track blade or, Sentinel or her barrier ability for TP. So they can be potentially eating up a lot of her resources. She's not a mage, so she doesn't get an AP start, so she's going to need access to some AP, I would imagine. Now, as for her main job, I think this is running her primary counter ability. So counter all damage, increases damage if HP decreases. That's pretty cool. The range on this sucks though. If she's generating hate and the enemy's coming right up to her, then this counter could be pretty damaging and pretty dangerous. I'm not as convinced about it. I think you'll just be running Paladin with the chance to basically reduce the amount of physical damage you're taking. This is not a character to counter mages. and nor does she need to be. If you were to put her on a team with a competent magic tank, this character is more about tanking physical damage, so it kind of makes like a dual, almost sort of tank character composition really nice with this character. But yeah, as for her counter, I like Paladin more than her original class, and that's just all there is to talk about it. Moving into support, she has the Paladin HP and defense increase. She has Fighters HP and attack increase, as well as the accuracy and upgrade skill ability. And as for her main job, she has these two. First one increasing accuracy by 25 and defense penetration by 40. And the other one, this one right here, is slash and missile resistance. So she's a pretty damn tanky character in terms of, before we get into the main part of her kit, she has some actual natural defense. If you could run her with a really nice kind of defensive Esper, maybe, I mean, like, this is Odin, but I think you could run her with maybe a Golem, maybe what else, the June one, Ahriman. I think that there is some potential in different Espers with this character to make a more tanky brawler type character. But her supports are nice. I'm not dead set on which ones I like. I think accuracy and defense penetration is really important for her overall kit, because this character with her new dagger, with the dark vision cards, can be a really accurate character without access to sure hit. The only question is how well she compares against those characters. Like, if you were to go up against Locke, is she really going to have enough accuracy to counter that, all the evasion? Don't know, but if she can, light evasion is probably pretty dead, at least for physical. Magical could be countered by you-know-who. She who shall not be named, Voldemortis. Oh, shoot, I wasn't supposed to name her. But yeah, I don't really know which supports I like this early on, other than the accuracy and defense penetration. I'm kind of leaning myself more towards defense and HP, but HP and attack also seems pretty good. Again, this is a character that I really don't have a good barometer for how I want to build her as of yet. As for her main job, though, really nice abilities that support a wide variety of units. All of her attacks are dark slash damage, but that's pretty nice. So in the sub part of her kit, she can cause confusion on her AoE ability, this ability right here. Good range on it. That's a pretty nasty status effect to deal with. As for her other ability, it can decrease slash resistance, which will be really good when, just in with a certain other dark slash unit called Dwan. Gonna be bestest friends forever. Throw in any other dark slash characters and you just got yourself a stew going. Now, as for her main part of her kit, we're going to save very key abilities for the end, namely this ability, as well as where is it? There it is, that ability. So let's talk about the other ones. First of all, this one, paralyzed chance for 3 turns. Pretty nice. Got some range on it. And really, this version of Leela ended up with some nasty status effects. Your confusion, your paralysis. It is just really potentially backbreaking for the enemy if those status effects land. The only thing, though, is I don't know if you want to run like really high faith on this character. If you do, I think you're running a pretty high chance that mages are going to be able to murder her, as she is not a particularly great character against mages, other than her magic resistance being pretty nice. All right, next up, this ability, attack on a single target. I do believe this is her 15. Nope, sorry, that was paralyze. This one is her other one. So paralyze. Now we scroll down to here. This is her job level 25 ability. So dispels protect, 200% mod, decreases healing power by 70 for 3 turns. Wow, interesting. Really good against physical units, and removes the potential of being able to be healed up. There are people running healers in the background right now with Resnick and whatnot. And, you know, Astoria, for example, his HP regeneration capabilities, being able to shut that down does may open up a little more of a weakness for Astoria or any character that just can't regenerate enough HP to potentially offset this character's damage. So I like the ability overall. We're not talking about that one or that one. Let's move on to this one next. Pretty good range, defense decreased by 30 for 3 turns before the damage hits of 165, and a increase of a 30% hit chance. So this ability has a little bit of extra accuracy on it, which is nice. Again, fighting against light that is capable, or fighting against light units that are evasion worthy. This is, though, her big ability. 165 mod, huge AoE, 32 AP cost, dispels all buffs for the target, dispels haste for the target. Large AoE that can catch a lot of enemies and just removes their buffs. Very dangerous for the enemy to go up against. This ability is going to be really nice for farming as well. It just has a good mod on it. It can just remove a lot of buffs that the enemy has. I just really like this ability, and there isn't really much else to say about it. And now we get to her last 2 abilities, which are very much combo abilities. So first of all, Guts. She doesn't need Paladin to access this. She has always access to this. Into her EX gets a number of uses +1. That when she will survive lethal damage, grants the effect of range attack resistance if Gut status effect is available. So this is really nice. Makes her more survivable to damage that could happen to her before even. And again, this character seems to be a lot of tanky aspects to her that make her really hard to kill. And as we get into her last ability, the one that's probably the most famous for this character, is this one. This is an AoE buff for multiple characters, increase reaction prevention rate, which is very, very nice. Being able to decrease the chance that the unit you are attacking counters does not happen by 50%. That's a lot. With the dagger, he has at least an 80% chance naturally in her kit to just make sure that the enemy's counter doesn't work, which means reflex doesn't work, the enemy gets hit more, dies sooner. Great. Next up, slash resistance penetration by 40 for 3 turns for the other units. And sorry, the app just crashed there. That's a little unfortunate, but not much we can do about that. Now, these are both for not just Leela, those are both for other units too. So other units as well are getting 50% chance to remove counters and a 40% slash resistance penetration. Very good team effect. As for the other thing that it does, also recovers her own AP and recovers a certain percentage of her HP when her HP hits less than 20%. This is the thing that makes Leela so kind of interesting as a unit to go up against other units, because Guts isn't really that great. If you just are at 1 HP, then it's really easy to kill you. This now, basically, if you can't remove the Gut status effect beforehand, you hit Leela, she goes down to 1 HP at the, best case scenario, but then she gets a massive HP heal up. I mean, this is also generating her some extra AP and everything. It's a pretty nice little ability in combination with the Guts. You want both of those abilities to cast. And Leela is just really strong and really, really, really durable. In terms of a character, she is incredibly durable. And she supports what is going on in the Dark Element really nicely now. And can probably lead a pretty good charge against light evasion. This is preemptively, though, before I have actually tested this too much. We want to find out if light evasion is really going to just get nailed by this. But let's take a look at the limit burst as the last thing we need to talk about. Limit Burst. After increasing your own defense penetration rate, damage targets large within range, granting a darkness status effect. Additional effect, slash attack resistance down if dark effect is around for 3 turns. So, a lot to unpack there, but basically she has a 67% chance to cause blindness, which will reduce accuracy against her and your characters for 3 turns, which is really nice. And if that status effect is active, she gets a 38% slash resistance down to the enemy that got blinded. Against bosses, this probably won't work if they have any resistance against this, but really mean against enemies. It is a 43 cost limit burst, so it's not exactly super cheap for a physical character, but it's not terrible either. The big thing right now, though, is I don't know exactly how I want to build this character. She's a really strong-looking character on paper. Like, I think that overall, she has some really nice capabilities. I am thinking that AP will probably be required for her. She doesn't seem like she's as self-reliant as a character like Astoria or anything like that, which is someone we have to measure DPS to. And as a tank, she doesn't have natural like hate generation just from the get-go. She has to work to potentially get it, or you have to build a TMR with some hate generation or natural hate on it. Either way, I really like her as a character. I think she is brawly. She has some nasty status effects she can throw at the enemy. She can dispel, she can support dark, and she can support just slash. All of these things are really good for her. So let's get into just a review, and we'll just go right here. Oh, look, we have some characters. Let's just, sorry. Get rid of them. And who should we throw in with Leela? Probably someone that makes sense with her. Let's throw in Leela. We don't get to do this very often, but yeah. Hold on. Get that. There we go. We'll make sure really quickly here that we just throw on some equipment. One of these Leelas will be much better than the other. We can also check out this Leela's evasion. As you can see, it's just not super that high, so I don't think it's going to be really all of that much use. We're also going to throw in... there it is. Now we're going to throw in bells because we are a character in this game. Let's throw on Odin here. And I don't know, what's a good vision card to just throw on to a character? We'll just throw on this one for now. Why the hell not? As you can see, we're going to take a little bit of a dip in stats, but this is a mid-tier difficulty one. So let's see how the AI behaves as a closeout to this video. But yeah, I do think that spear units are really scary for this character. It's just going to take, I think, some time with me testing to really figure out how much I like this character, how good her AI is, if there are any problems. As you can see, the friend unit one was very quick to just cast a buff and then go directly into attacking, whereas mine was just started casting bells, which is pretty interesting. Also, I'm not very mastered with a weapon yet. So we can see she's really good at using her AoE, really good at doing DPS stuff, really good at honing in on weak enemies. We got another buff there, not entirely sure why, but there we go. And all right, 2 Leelas cleaned up that pretty easy map pretty easily. But yeah, I am curious which buffs take priority in her AI, whether or not her own buffs will be more important to her or not. So let's try running one more time, as a matter of fact. This time we will put her with a friendly Dwan. The Rock Johnson. Nah, that's dumb. Alright, we'll throw this in, and we'll throw as... I don't want to do that. Let's throw in a speed card too, and just a little bit of... Right? Good. Good enough. Let's see how her AI behaves this time. Bit of a long video, but you know what? We like to go in depth. These look-ats of a character. Alright, so her own primary main ability takes precedence over her other stuff. That's good to know. She's not using bells so much. This will give us a little bit of an idea of how reliant she is on AP cost too. Don't really think there was a huge need for her there to be getting AP, but alright. So yeah, focus is primarily on her own stuff before bells. I don't think you would not want her to be running that. The gut status effect as well is kind of a question mark, but I don't have that ability on mine yet. It was notable though that the friend unit also ran the 20% HP safety buff over the gut status effect. So that is definitely something I will be testing in the next little bit as I get the resources and my own copy of the unit built up for the future. But Leela is definitely a tanky, nasty to go up against character. Either if she hits you, if she lands any of her status effects, darkness status effect, she is very much a unit built to counter other physical units. And that is where she is the most scary. She could be put behind a magic tank to successful use though, and I think she has a pretty good chance of dealing some competition towards light evasion, but that we're going to put a pin in that and put that in our final review after I have tested it out against light evasion units. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope this was a nice little look at our initial peek at Detective Leela, and we'll keep an eye on it in the coming days and figure out whether or not this character is really worth your investment or not. So thanks for watching. See you next time.